Marcus Chen pulled his thick coat tighter as he walked through the empty halls of Kepler Station. The metal walls creaked in the cold. Ice had formed on the windows, making it hard to see outside. The heating system worked, but barely. He had to fix it again today. The station sat on Titan 7, a frozen moon far from any star. Most days, the temperature outside dropped to -200 degrees. No human could survive out there without a good suit. Even with one, staying outside too long meant death. Marcus was alone now. The mining company had left 6 months ago. They said the operation cost too much money. The other workers packed their things and took the transport ships home. Marcus stayed behind. Someone had to keep the station running while they took out the valuable equipment. He was 52 years old and had nowhere else to go anyway. His wife and daughter died 3 years ago in a transport accident. The company job was all he had left. He knew machines better than people these days. Machines were easier. They broke, he fixed them, they worked again. Simple. The storm started that morning. Marcus watched it build through the thick windows. The wind howled like a living thing. Snow and ice flew so fast he could not see past the landing pad. No ships would come or go today. Good thing he had enough food and water for weeks. He spent the day working on the main heating unit. The old machine fought him at every step. Parts were worn out and needed replacement. He had spare parts, but not many. When those ran out, he would have to get creative or freeze to death. Marcus ate dinner alone in the small cafeteria. The silence felt heavy. Sometimes he talked to himself just to hear a voice. He missed the sound of other people, even the complaints and arguments of his old crewmates. Anything was better than this quiet. After dinner, he checked the outside sensors. The storm was getting worse. Wind speeds hit 100 kilometers per hour. The temperature had dropped another 10 degrees. It would be a long night. Marcus was getting ready for bed when the proximity alarm went off. Someone or something was near the station. He ran to the control room and checked the screens. At first, he saw nothing but swirling snow. Then, a shape moved near the main airlock. What the hell? Marcus grabbed his emergency suit and put it on fast. Whatever was out there would be dead soon in this cold. He had to move quickly. The airlock cycled through its safety checks. Marcus stepped outside into the screaming wind. Ice hit his face mask like tiny bullets. He could barely see 2 meters ahead. The shape was there, collapsed by the door. It was a person. Small and thin, wearing a biosuit that had failed. The heating elements were dark. Ice covered the face mask. Marcus could not tell if they were alive or dead. He grabbed the person under the arms and dragged them inside. The airlock door sealed behind them. Marcus hit the emergency heating button and waited for the cycle to finish. His hands shook, but not from cold. When the inner door opened, Marcus pulled the person into the station. Under the bright lights, he could see more clearly. The biosuit had patches and repairs all over it. Old repairs. Whoever this was had been living rough for a while. Marcus knelt down and carefully removed the helmet. A face looked back at him. Not human. The skin was pale green with a pattern of small scales. The eyes were large and dark. The features were sharp but delicate. Female, he thought, though he was not sure how to tell with this species. She was alive but barely breathing. Her skin felt cold as ice. Marcus had seen her kind before in the outer colonies. Vithani, they were called. Reptile people. From a dying world. Cold-blooded. They needed heat to survive, just like the old lizards back on Earth. Her eyes opened slowly. They focused on Marcus with effort. Her lips moved but no sound came out. She tried again. Please, she whispered in broken standard. So cold. Help me. Marcus nodded. I will help you. You are safe now. She reached out with a shaking hand and touched his arm. I can warm you. Keep you warm at night. In exchange for shelter. Please. The words hit Marcus like a slap. She was offering herself. Her body for a warm place to stay. How desperate was she? How bad had things gotten for her people? That this seemed normal. No, Marcus said firmly. That is not necessary. Fear filled her dark eyes. Please. I have nothing else. I can cook. I can clean. I can. Her voice broke. Stop, Marcus said. He stood up and went to the supply closet. He pulled out thermal blankets and a heating pad. You do not have to do anything. You need medical help. Marcus wrapped her in the blankets and activated the heating pad. He carried her to the medical bay and put her on the treatment bed. The AudioDoc scanned her and showed the results. Severe hypothermia, dehydration, malnutrition. She had been running on empty for days, maybe weeks. What is your name? Marcus asked, as he started the warming treatment. Zara, she said. Her voice was getting stronger as the heat reached her. Zara Telvanis. I am Marcus. Marcus Chen. Welcome to Kepler Station. Zara looked around the clean medical bay. Tears ran down her scaled cheeks. You are not going to hurt me? No. I am going to help you get better. Then we will figure out what comes next. She closed her eyes and let out a long breath. Why? Why help a stranger? A refugee? No one else has. Marcus thought about his answer. Because it is the right thing to do. Because you are a person who needs help. That is enough. Zara fell asleep as the warming unit brought her body temperature back to normal. Marcus sat in the chair next to the bed and watched her breathe. The storm continued outside, but inside the station felt less empty. For the first time in months, Marcus was not alone. He did not know what tomorrow would bring. But tonight, he had saved a life. That felt like something worth doing. Marcus woke up early and checked on Zara. She was still sleeping, but her color looked better. The pale green of her skin had warmed to a healthier shade. The medical scanner showed her body temperature was normal now. He made breakfast for 2 people. It felt strange cooking for someone else after so many months alone. Marcus tried to remember what he knew about Vithani dietary needs. They were omnivores, like humans, but needed more protein. He added extra protein bars to the meal. Zara woke up as he was setting the food on a tray. She sat up slowly, looking around with confusion. Where am I? She asked. Kepler Station. You collapsed outside during the storm last night. Do you remember? Zara nodded slowly. Yes. I was trying to reach the emergency beacon. My ship crashed 3 days ago on the other side of the crater. Marcus set the tray down. You walked 3 days in this cold? How are you still alive? Vithani can slow our metabolism when we get too cold. It keeps us alive longer, but we cannot move much. She looked at the food with hungry eyes. Is this for me? Yes, eat as much as you want. Zara picked up the protein bar and bit into it. Her eyes closed with pleasure. Real food. I have not had real food in weeks. Marcus sat down across from her. What happened to your ship? Engine failure. I was traveling from Proxima Station to the inner colonies, looking for work. The hyperdrive failed and dropped me out of FTL near this system. I used the last of my fuel to reach this moon. She took another bite. I saw your station on the scanners. It was my only hope. You came a long way looking for work. Zara's expression grew sad. My world is dying. Our sun grows colder each year. Most of my people have already left, scattered across the galaxy as refugees. We take whatever work we can find. What kind of work do you do? I am an environmental engineer. I specialized in thermal regulation systems. She paused. I was an environmental engineer. Now I take whatever jobs I can get. Cleaning. Cooking. Whatever keeps me warm and fed. Marcus felt anger rise in his chest. Not at her, but at the situation. Here was someone with skills and education, forced to scrape by because of circumstances beyond her control. What about your family? Marcus asked. Dead. The cold took them before I could earn enough money to bring them off-world. Zara's voice was flat, but Marcus could see the pain in her eyes. I am alone now. They sat in silence for a moment. Marcus understood that feeling. I lost my family too. 3 years ago. Transport accident. Zara looked up at him with surprise. I am sorry. That must have been very hard. It was, still is, some days. After breakfast, Marcus showed Zara around the station. She walked slowly, still recovering from her ordeal. But her engineering eye was sharp. She noticed things Marcus had stopped seeing. Your thermal efficiency is poor, she said, as they passed a heating vent. You are losing 30% of your heat through these old ducts. I know, but I cannot spare the parts to fix everything. Zara ran her hand along the duct. With some modifications, you could improve efficiency without new parts. Route the ducts differently. Add reflective barriers. Simple changes. Marcus was impressed. You can see all that just by looking? Thermal dynamics are my specialty. On my world, efficient heating meant survival. We learned to make the most of every calorie of heat energy. 2-1. They spent the afternoon working together on small repairs. Zara's suggestions were simple but effective. Marcus had the tools and materials. She had the knowledge. Together they improved 3 different systems in just a few hours. You are good at this, Marcus said as they finished adjusting a heat exchanger. So are you. You understand these machines like they are living things. Marcus smiled. I have been working with machines my whole life. Sometimes I think they are easier to understand than people. People are complex. Machines are honest. If they are broken, they tell you. If they work, they work. No hidden meanings. That evening, they shared dinner in the cafeteria. The storm had finally stopped, but the temperature outside was still deadly. Zara told Marcus stories about her world. About cities built around geothermal vents. About art made from ice sculptures that lasted for months in the cold. About music that used temperature changes to create harmony. We had a saying, Zara said. Warmth shared is warmth doubled. Cold shared is cold halved. That is beautiful. My grandmother taught it to me. She said the universe is cold and empty, but beings create warmth when they come together. Marcus thought about that. He had been alone for so long. He had forgotten what it felt like to share space with someone. To have conversations that lasted longer than talking to himself. Why did you stay here alone? Zara asked. When the others left, I go. Marcus was quiet for a long moment. I had nowhere else to go, no family waiting for me. The company pays me to keep the station running while they salvage equipment. It seemed like enough, but you could find other work. On other worlds, maybe. But this place, it is simple. Quiet. I can fix things here, make them work. It feels like something useful. Zara nodded. I understand. Sometimes simple is better than complicated. Before bed, Marcus set up a spare room for Zara. He made sure the heating was working well and gave her extra blankets. Thank you, she said as he was leaving. For everything. For saving my life. For treating me like a person. Instead of what? Instead of what most people see when they look at refugees like me. Someone desperate enough to do anything for shelter. Marcus stopped at the door. That offer you made last night. When you first woke up, is that something you have had to do before? Zara looked down at her hands. Yes. Not always. But sometimes it was the only way to survive. To have a warm place to sleep. Most people in the outer colonies see Vithani women and think we are available, desperate. They are not always wrong. The anger Marcus had felt earlier came back stronger. That is not right. Right and wrong are luxuries when you are freezing to death. No, Marcus said firmly. Right and wrong are what make us people, instead of animals. You should never have to make that choice. Zara looked up at him with surprise. Most people do not see it that way. Then most people are wrong. That night, Marcus lay in his bed listening to the sounds of the station. But now there were different sounds. The soft noise of someone moving in another room. The quiet breathing of another person. For the first time in months, Kepler Station felt like it had life in it. Outside, the stars shone cold and distant. But inside, 2 lost souls had found something they both needed. Not romance or passion, but something simpler and more valuable. Understanding, respect, the basic human dignity that costs nothing to give but means everything to receive. Marcus fell asleep thinking about thermal dynamics and ice sculptures and the warmth that beings create when they choose to help each other instead of taking advantage. Over the next few weeks, Marcus and Zara fell into a routine. She helped him with repairs and improvements. He taught her how to use the station's tools and systems. Together, they made Kepler Station run better than it had in years. Zara's knowledge of thermal engineering amazed Marcus every day. She could look at a system and immediately see ways to improve it. Small changes that made big differences. Redirecting airflow here, adding insulation there. Changing the timing of heating cycles. Try this, Zara said as they worked on the main environmental controls. She showed Marcus how to program the system to heat different sections at different times. Instead of heating everything at once, we cycle the heat. The thermal mass holds the warmth while we heat the next section. Marcus watched the energy readings on his screen. That is a 20% improvement in efficiency. How did you think of that? On my world, we had limited geothermal energy. Every family had to share time at the heating vents. We learned to store heat in stones and metal during our turn, then use that stored warmth until our next turn came. Brilliant, Zara smiled. It was good to have her knowledge valued again, instead of ignored. Your machines are well maintained. That makes the improvements possible. Good engineering supports good engineering. They worked side by side most days. Marcus found himself looking forward to their conversations. Zara was intelligent and funny when she relaxed. She told stories about her world that made him understand how different cultures could develop. On a cold planet, sharing warmth became the foundation of their entire society. We had communal sleeping chambers in winter, Zara explained one afternoon as they calibrated heating sensors. 50 or 60 people in one large room, sharing body heat. Privacy was less important than survival. That must have been crowded. Yes, but also comforting. You always knew you were not alone. No one ever had to face the cold by themselves. Marcus thought about his months of solitude. That sounds nice, actually. One evening, as they shared dinner, Zara asked about human culture. Your people value individual space highly, yes? Private rooms? Personal property? Yes, though it varies. Some humans like being around others. Some prefer solitude. What do you prefer? Marcus considered the question. I used to like being around people. My wife and daughter. Work crews. After they died, I thought I preferred being alone, but having you here. He paused. It is good to have someone to talk to again. I feel the same. I was alone for so long after my family died. I forgot what it was like to have a friend. Marcus realized that was what Zara had become. Not just someone he was helping, but a genuine friend. Someone whose company he enjoyed. Their work paid off in dramatic ways. The station's power consumption dropped by 30% while maintaining better temperature control. Systems that used to break down weekly now ran smoothly for days. Marcus sent reports to the company showing the improvements. But not everyone who visited the station appreciated their partnership. A supply ship arrived on a Tuesday morning. Captain Reeves and his crew brought spare parts and food supplies. Marcus had traded with them before. They were rough, but reliable. Reeves noticed Zara immediately. His eyes looked her up and down in a way that made Marcus uncomfortable. Well, Chen's got himself some company. Nice to see you're not letting good resources go to waste. Zara is a colleague, Marcus said firmly. She is helping me maintain the station. I bet she is. Reeves laughed. How much for a night with the lizard girl? Marcus stepped between Reeves and Zara. She is not for sale. And if you speak about her that way again, you can take your supplies and leave. Reeves raised his hands in mock surrender. Easy, Chen. Just making conversation. No harm meant. But Marcus saw how Zara's shoulders tensed. How she moved to stand slightly behind him. This was the treatment she was used to. The assumption that, because she was a refugee, she was available for anything. Complete your delivery and go, Marcus said. I will transfer your payment. After the supply ship left, Zara was quiet for the rest of the day. That evening, she finally spoke about it. You did not have to protect me like that. I am used to such comments. Being used to something does not make it right. You deserve better. Do I? I am a refugee with a broken ship and no money. What I deserve and what I get are different things. Marcus sat down across from her. Here, on this station, you get what you deserve. Respect. Dignity. Fair treatment. That is not negotiable. Zara looked at him with something like wonder. Why? Why does it matter to you how others treat me? Marcus thought carefully about his answer. Because, if we do not stand up for what is right when it is easy, we will not stand up for it when it is hard. And because... He paused. Because you are my friend. Friends protect each other. The next supply ship brought different challenges. Captain Torres was more polite than Reeves, but his offer was the same. That Vithani working for you? I could use someone with her skills. Pay well for a few nights of her time. Not interested, Marcus replied coldly. Come on, Chen, be reasonable. These lizard girls need the work. I am offering good money. The answer is no, Torres shrugged. Your loss. But word is getting around that you are hoarding the good ones. Other captains might not be so polite about asking. After Torres left, Marcus realized they had a problem. If supply ships stopped coming because he refused their requests, he and Zara would be in trouble, but he could not bring himself to care about the consequences. You heard what he said, Marcus told Zara. Other ships might cause problems. Then maybe I should leave, find another place to go. Where? You said yourself that most places in the outer colonies treat your people badly. Yes, but at least then it would only be my problem. Marcus shook his head. Running away does not solve anything. We will figure out another solution. That night, Marcus lay awake thinking about the problem. He could contact the company and request different suppliers. He could make it clear that harassment of station personnel would result in loss of contracts. He had options that did not involve abandoning Zara to her fate. More importantly, he realized he did not want her to leave. Not because he needed her help with repairs, though that was valuable, but because she had become part of what made the station feel like home. Her presence had changed something fundamental about his daily life. In the morning, Zara surprised him with a new project. She had spent the night designing improvements to the station's communication array. If we modify the transmitter this way, we can reach ships much farther out. Better communication range means more choice in who we trade with. Marcus studied her designs. This could work. We would not be dependent on just the local supply routes. Exactly. And if we establish trade relationships with ships from the inner colonies, they are more likely to follow proper business protocols. They spent 3 days implementing Zara's communication upgrades. When they tested the new system, they could reach ships 2 full star systems away. Marcus sent out new trade requests immediately. The first response came from a merchant vessel from the inner colonies. Professional. Courteous. No inappropriate questions or comments. You see? Zara said as they read the polite trade proposal. Not all of the galaxy is full of people like Reeves. Marcus smiled. You saved us both with this upgrade. How did you learn communication systems? Enitember 5. Enitember 5. Of reeking look tember 5. This self. Enitember 5. Enitember 5. Enitember 5. Of look tember 5. Enitember 5. Thermal management and signal transmission have a lot in common. Both are about moving energy efficiently from one place to another. As they celebrated their success with a special dinner, Marcus realized something important. Zara was not just helping him maintain the station anymore. She was improving it in ways he never could have imagined. Her different perspective and knowledge made everything better. But more than that, she had given him something he had not realized he was missing. Purpose beyond just keeping things running. Hope for something better than just surviving, day by day. Outside, The stars shone as cold and distant as ever. But inside Kepler Station, two people had built something new together. Not just better systems and improved efficiency, but trust and friendship, and the beginning of what might become a real home. 3 months after Zara's arrival, everything changed. A large corporate transport ship appeared on the long-range scanners. Marcus had not been expecting any company visits. He contacted the ship and received a formal response. Kepler Station. This is Director Hawkins. From Meridian Mining Corporation. We are here for final inspection and closure procedures. Prepare for boarding. Marcus felt his stomach drop. Final closure? I was not told about any closure timeline. You will be briefed upon our arrival. Hawkins out. Marcus turned to Zara, who had been listening from the communications console. They are shutting down the station. I thought we had more time. How long do we have? I do not know. But corporate directors do not travel this far for routine inspections. They must be serious about closing us down soon. The corporate ship docked 2 hours later. Director Hawkins emerged with 3 assistants and a security officer. She was a sharp-looking woman in an expensive business suit that seemed out of place on the industrial station. Mr. Chen, Hawkins said briskly, thank you for maintaining the station during the transition period. We are here to finalize salvage operations and arrange your transportation to a new assignment. New assignment? Yes. The company has been very pleased with your work here. We have a position available on Proxima Prime. Senior engineering role, excellent benefits, core world amenities. It was a good offer. Proxima Prime was one of the most developed colonies in the sector. Clean cities, comfortable climate, good schools if he ever wanted to start a family again. Everything Titan 7 was not. Then Hawkins noticed Zara. Who is this individual? She was not mentioned in any of your reports. This is Zara. She is a skilled environmental engineer who has been helping me maintain station operations. Hawkins looked Zara up and down with obvious disapproval. A Vithani refugee? Mr. Chen, surely you understand the liability issues involved in harboring unauthorized personnel. Zara is not unauthorized. She requested asylum, and I granted it under emergency protocols. Emergency protocols expired after 72 hours. This individual should have been transferred to proper refugee processing centers months ago. Zara stepped forward. With respect, Director Hawkins, I am a qualified engineer. I have contributed significantly to station operations. Perhaps you would like to review the efficiency improvements we have achieved? Hawkins barely glanced at the datapad Zara offered. I am sure you have been helpful, but this station is being decommissioned. There is no future here for anyone. What about the improvements? Marcus asked. Our power efficiency is up 30%. Our communication range has tripled. The thermal management systems are running better than original specifications. Impressive, but irrelevant. The mining operation here was not profitable. These improvements cannot change that fundamental economic reality. Marcus felt frustration building. But the station could serve other purposes. Research. Communications relay. Refugee processing center. Mr. Chen. You are an engineer, not a business analyst. Let the company worry about economic decisions. Hawkins turned back to Zara. Miss. What is your full name? Zara Telvanis. Miss Telvanis. I am arranging transportation for you to Refugee Settlement Station 47. They have proper facilities for your people there. Zara's face went pale. Station 47 is a processing center, not a settlement. People wait there for years without permanent placement. And the conditions are adequate for temporary housing. You will be well cared for. Marcus knew about Station 47. It was overcrowded, understaffed, and notorious for poor living conditions. Refugees sent there often disappeared into the system, forgotten, and ignored. She is not going to Station 47, Marcus said firmly. Mr. Chen, this is not your decision to make. Company policy is clear about unauthorized personnel. Then change company policy. Hawkins sighed. I understand you have grown attached to this situation. But you must be practical. Accept the Proxima Prime position. Start fresh. Leave this behind. That evening, after the corporate team had retired to their ship, Marcus and Zara sat in the cafeteria discussing their options. You should take the job offer, Zara said quietly. Proxima Prime is a good opportunity. You have already done more than enough for me. I am not abandoning you to Station 47. What choice do you have? If you refuse their offer, they will just close the station anyway. At least this way, one of us benefits. Marcus stared out the window at the corporate ship. Its lights were bright against the stars. Inside, Director Hawkins was probably preparing final closure documents. There has to be another way. Marcus, you have been kind to me. Kinder than I had any right to expect. But this is how the galaxy works. Corporations make decisions based on profit. Refugees like me are just problems to be managed. You are not a problem. You are the best engineer I have ever worked with. And more than that, you are my friend. Zara smiled sadly. Friends sometimes have to say goodbye. The next morning brought an unexpected development. A message came through on the long-range communications array. The signal was weak but clear. It was from another Vithani refugee ship, Kepler Station. This is the transport vessel Warm Current. We heard rumors about your facility. That you treat our people with respect. We request permission to dock and trade. Marcus looked at Director Hawkins, who had come to the communications center to monitor all transmissions. Just rumors? Word spreads quickly among refugee communities, Zara explained. If you help one person, others hear about it. Permission denied, Hawkins said into the communicator. This station is not authorized for refugee operations. The Vithani captain responded politely but firmly. With respect, human authority, we request permission to trade with Kepler Station. We have valuable thermal regulation technology to exchange for supplies. Hawkins looked irritated. I said, permission denied. Move along. But Marcus had an idea. Wait. Did you say thermal regulation technology? Yes. Our engineers have developed new innovations for cold weather survival. Very valuable for mining operations and frontier colonies. Director Hawkins suddenly looked more interested. What kind of innovations? What kind of innovations? Over the next hour, the Vithani captain described technologies that made Marcus's jaw drop. Heating systems that used 1/3 the power of current designs. Insulation materials that could keep a building warm in space. Environmental suits that could protect workers in temperatures that would kill them with current equipment. We need a safe place to establish a permanent research facility, the captain explained. Somewhere we can work without harassment or exploitation. In exchange, we share our technologies with human partners. Hawkins was clearly calculating profits in her head. How many refugees are we talking about? 50 engineers and their families to start. More, if the facility proves successful. And you would share these technologies freely? With partners who treat us fairly, yes. We prefer cooperation to exploitation. Hawkins turned to Marcus. Mr. Chen, how quickly could this station be converted to support a larger population? Marcus looked at Zara, who was barely containing her excitement. With proper funding and Zara's expertise in thermal engineering, we could support 200 people within 6 months. And the mining equipment that is already here could be converted to support manufacturing operations, Zara added. We could produce the new technologies here instead of just licensing them to others. Hawkins was quiet for a long moment, staring at the data displays. Marcus could practically see her recalculating the economic potential of Kepler Station. I need to consult with headquarters, she said finally. No commitments will be made without full corporate approval. That afternoon, Hawkins called Marcus to a private meeting aboard her ship. The company is interested in this refugee research proposal. Very interested. But we need someone reliable to manage operations here. Someone who understands both the technical and human challenges involved. I am listening. The Proxima Prime offer is still available. Better pay, better benefits, better living conditions. But if you prefer, we could offer you station commander position here. Lower pay, harsh conditions, but significant autonomy and profit-sharing if the research facility succeeds. Marcus understood the choice she was offering him. Safety and comfort, or risk and responsibility. A predictable future alone, or an uncertain future with friends. I need time to think about it. Take all the time you need. But remember, Mr. Chen, that personal attachments can cloud professional judgment. Sometimes, the practical choice is the right choice. That night, Marcus walked the corridors of Kepler Station, thinking about everything that had changed since Zara's arrival. The station hummed with life and purpose now. Soon it might house dozens of families, working together to build something new. But it would also be challenging. Corporate oversight, managing diverse populations, technical problems he could not imagine yet. It would be easier to take the safe job on Proxima Prime and start over. Marcus found himself at the observation deck where this had all started, where he had first seen Zara collapsed in the snow. She was there now, looking out at the stars. "Have you decided?" she asked without turning around. "I think so. But first I want to know what you think. If I stay and become station commander, would you stay too? As chief environmental engineer?" Zara turned to face him, hope shining in her dark eyes. "You would do that? Give up the safe job to stay here? If you will help me turn this place into something special, something that proves refugees are not problems to be managed, but people with talents to be valued." Zara smiled, and Marcus realized he had made his choice. Not the practical choice or the profitable choice, but the right choice. The choice that felt like home. The next morning, Marcus gave Director Hawkins his answer. "I will stay and manage the research facility. Zara Telvanis will serve as Chief Environmental Engineer. We accept your terms." Hawkins nodded approvingly. "Excellent. Corporate headquarters has approved the project. Initial funding will arrive within the week, along with construction materials and additional personnel." "What about the Vathani refugees?" "They can begin arriving immediately. We will establish formal research partnerships and work permits. This will all be completely legal and properly documented." Marcus felt a weight lift from his shoulders. No more hiding. No more worrying about whether Zara's presence was authorized. She would have official status and recognition for her skills. The next few months transformed Kepler Station completely. The first group of Vathani families arrived on the transport ship Warm Current. 50 engineers, scientists, and their children. They brought with them technologies that amazed even Marcus. Zara worked closely with the new arrivals to establish living quarters and workspaces. Her experience with human systems made her the perfect bridge between the two species. She understood both thermal engineering and human bureaucracy. "We need to create shared spaces, as well as private ones," Zara explained to Marcus as they planned the expansion. Vathani are used to communal living, but humans value privacy. The design must work for both. They developed innovative solutions, common areas with variable temperature zones, so both species could be comfortable. Workspaces designed for collaboration, but with quiet areas for individual tasks. Residential sections that could be configured for different family structures. Dr. Kellen Varos, the lead Vathani researcher, proved to be as brilliant as promised. His team had developed heating systems that used quantum thermal dynamics to achieve impossible efficiency. Marcus watched in amazement as they installed a prototype that heated the entire expanded station, using less power than the old system used for a single section. "How does it work?" Marcus asked as they calibrated the new system. "We manipulate molecular vibration at the quantum level," Dr. Varos explained. "Instead of adding heat energy, we organize existing energy more efficiently, much like your people organize information in computers. That should be impossible according to thermodynamics." Dr. Varos smiled. "According to human thermodynamics, yes. But my people have studied heat for thousands of years. We see patterns your science has not discovered yet." The research station attracted attention from across the galaxy. Other refugees contacted them requesting sanctuary. Human scientists applied for positions to study Vathani thermal technologies. Even the Galactic Research Consortium sent representatives to establish formal partnerships. Marcus found himself managing a community of over 100 people within 6 months. It was challenging work, but rewarding in ways he had never experienced. Every day brought new problems to solve and new innovations to implement. More importantly, he watched relationships form between humans and Vitani that went beyond professional cooperation. Children played together regardless of species. Adults shared meals and stories. Families formed bonds that crossed biological boundaries. One evening, as Marcus walked through the busy corridors of what was now officially called Haven Point Research Station, he found Zara in her office reviewing plans for the next expansion. Working late again? Zara looked up from her designs. The new families arriving next week will need additional heating capacity. I want to have everything ready. Marcus sat down across from her desk. Do you ever regret staying? You could have gone to the inner colonies by now. Found a position with a major corporation. Better pay, easier work. Do you regret staying? Marcus thought about it. The Proxima Prime position would have been comfortable and secure. But comfort was not the same as satisfaction. No. This is better. Harder. But better. For me too. Here, my people are valued for what we know, not pitied for what we have lost. That is worth more than money. A soft chime indicated an incoming message on the long-range communications array. Marcus recognized the signal pattern. Another refugee ship requesting permission to dock. Warm current calling Haven Point. We have 43 refugees aboard, including 12 qualified engineers. Requesting permission to join your community. Marcus smiled and activated the response transmitter. Warm current, this is Marcus Chen, Station Commander of Haven Point. Permission granted. Welcome home. 2 years after Zara had collapsed in the snow outside Kepler Station, Haven Point had become famous throughout the outer colonies. The Galactic Research Consortium had established a permanent research facility there. Major corporations licensed Vitani thermal technologies for everything from spacecraft to agricultural systems. More importantly, it had become a symbol of hope for refugees across the galaxy. Not a processing center or temporary shelter, but a real community where people could build new lives with dignity. Marcus stood in the expanded observation deck, watching children play in the hydroponics gardens Zara had designed. Human and Vitani children together, laughing and learning from each other. Their parents worked side by side in the research labs, creating technologies that neither species could have developed alone. Amazing how much can grow from one small choice, Zara said, joining him at the window. You mean my choice to help you? No. Your choice to see me as a person, instead of a problem. That was the beginning of everything else. Marcus thought about that night when Zara had offered herself as payment for shelter. How easy it would have been to take advantage of her desperation. How normal that probably seemed in a galaxy where refugees were treated as commodities. It was not really a choice. It was just the right thing to do. For you, maybe. But not everyone sees it that way. Most people in the galaxy would have made a different choice. A new family was arriving that day. Marcus could see their transport ship approaching the landing pad. More refugees looking for a place where they could be valued for their skills instead of exploited for their desperation. Director Chen, a voice said behind them. Marcus turned to see Dr. Sarah Kim, the human physicist who led the joint research projects. The consortium representatives want to discuss expanding our thermal research program. They are offering substantial funding for a new laboratory complex. What do you think, Zara? Are we ready for more expansion? Zara studied the approach vectors on her data pad. We will need new residential sections for the additional families, and better infrastructure to support larger-scale manufacturing. But yes, I think we are ready. Marcus nodded. Set up the meeting, Dr. Kim. But make sure they understand our conditions. Any expansion must include housing and full integration for refugee families. We are not just a research facility. We are a community. That evening, Marcus and Zara shared dinner in the main cafeteria. Around them, dozens of conversations flowed in multiple languages. Human children asked Vithani elders about their home world. Vithani teenagers taught human friends traditional heating techniques. Families planned birthday parties, and work schedules and dreams for the future. Do you remember what you said that first night? Marcus asked. About your grandmother saying, warmth shared is warmth doubled, cold shared is cold halved. I think your grandmother was right, but I would add something. Hope shared is hope multiplied. Zara smiled. She would have liked that. And she would have liked you. You understand what it means to create warmth in a cold universe. Charing and Tater. Zara smiled. She would have liked you. She would have liked you. Through the large windows, the stars shone as distant and cold as ever. But inside Haven Point, hundreds of beings had found something warmer than stellar fire. They had found home, not the place they came from, but the place they chose to build together. Marcus looked around the busy cafeteria and realized that somewhere along the way, he had stopped being a lonely engineer maintaining a dying outpost. He had become something he never expected, a father figure to lost children, a leader helping people build new lives, a friend to beings who had traveled across the galaxy looking for acceptance. All because one frozen night he had chosen compassion over convenience, dignity over desire, the harder path over the easier one. And in return, that choice had given him something more valuable than comfort or security. It had given him purpose. It had given him family. It had given him a future worth building. Outside, a new transport ship was approaching. More refugees seeking shelter. More engineers ready to share their knowledge. More families hoping to find a place where they could belong. Marcus smiled and stood up. There was work to do. New arrivals to welcome. New homes to build. New innovations to discover. But first, he would finish dinner with his friend. The friend who had taught him that the difference between surviving and living was the difference between keeping warm alone and sharing warmth with others. In a cold and often uncaring galaxy, Haven Point had become proof that small acts of kindness could grow into great things, that treating people with dignity could transform not just individual lives, but entire communities, that sometimes, the most important choice you can make is the simple choice to help someone who needs it, without asking for anything in return except the chance to do what is right. Years later, when historians wrote about the great refugee integration and the technological revolution that followed, they would trace it all back to one moment. One human who chose compassion over exploitation. One act of basic decency that rippled outward to change the galaxy. But Marcus never thought of it in such grand terms. To him, it was simpler than that. It was just what friends do for each other. And home is what you build when you choose to stay and help, instead of walking away.